Welcome back, guys, ladies and gentlemen, parents, RBTs, BCBAs, who's ever tapped in. Parent Trap, episode 12, I think. We're going to jump in it today, and I'm going to switch it up. So I know once I'm on a good one, I can go for 20, 30, 40 minutes, right? And so I just want to start this kind of series, I guess, or this installation, whatever we call it, with little shorties. And so these are going to be kind of just straight into the point. A lot of them are going to be referring back to posts that you may have seen on Instagram and kind of just elaborating off of those. And so I did post something, I think it was on Monday or Tuesday, that mentioned how to pick your battles with your children, right? And so we're going to just jump into that and get to it. And so with that, I posted how to pick your battles with your children, right? And so instead of that back and forth, whether it's the verbal sparring or, I said do this, but I don't want to do that, but you told me to do, instead of going back and forth, I wanted parents to think about three things. And I wrote those out as stop, think, and reflect. And so the first one was stop. So in that situation, I wrote down that I want parents to stop and think about what they're about to say. I want them to think about how they're going to react and how those two combined will create a change in that behavior or the targeted behavior, whatever it is, right? I know when I go into homes, I see knee-jerk reactions, which is natural, which is what I want to see. But within that, I also see that there's area for growth or areas for change, right? If we notice that the behavior hasn't decreased, then we have to change the delivery or the approach that we're coming to the plate with, right? And so I'll give you guys a quick sports analogy, right? If I've struck out, my batting average is below 200, I've struck out, 10 out of 12 times, maybe I'm going to hold the bat a little bit differently. Maybe I'm going to, step in the box a little bit later. Maybe I'm going to change my stance or my swing. So I'm going to change how I approach, my next at bat to hopefully change the outcome. And so that's what I want parents to start thinking about too, is how is this reaction going to change behavior or alter it in a way that's more socially appropriate or alter it in a way that I want it to, right? In my household or in my situation or in that specific scenario. So by stopping, taking that quick 1 or 2 seconds just to be like, okay, cool. Instead of just reacting, let me stop, let me pause. Let me get my thoughts together, and then let me respond in a manner that not only my child understands, but that he or she is receptive to in that situation. The second one is think. So in that situation, like this is within like 3 seconds, right? So the behavior happens. This is going to be really, really quick. And so the more you guys do it, the more it'll make sense. But that first one is going to be awkward and it's going to take some time. So you stopped. And now I want you to think even more, right? So am I coming at this situation out of pride or out of control, right? Do I want to be firm like, a military sergeant when I say goes A, B, C, and D exactly in that order? Or do I want to just control the situation, right? Am I letting my pride or my control get in the way of parenting? Because we have to take a step back with my stepfather, right? He had a background, how can I put this? He had a background that didn't teach him how to be a father. So when he tried to father me, he had nothing to pull from. And so because he was in the service, that's what he took and that's how he chose to raise me. Is a very, what I say goes, very militant, very, I don't care what happened before or after, I'm focused about now in that situation. And so his background molded him into, becoming a parent and to fathering, that specific type of way. So what I want you guys to think about is where are you parenting from? Are you parenting out of a sense of control? I've talked to parents that, have adapted this gentle parenting, right? So I know their parents didn't gentle parent. And so now they're adapting this new model. And so by thinking at where you're coming from or where you're going, that's going to direct how you respond to that incident or that scenario. So just by thinking about it is going to change your delivery of things. And then the last things I want you guys to think about is to reflect, right? So after this situation is over, let's reflect. Let's take a step back. This is what I always tell RBTs and supervisors is, okay, we've been in a 30-minute tantrum. So how can we reduce this next time from even occurring, or decrease it by 30 seconds or a minute? So if it was 30 minutes yesterday, how can we decrease it to 25 minutes today? How can we decrease it to 15 minutes next week? I want you guys to continuously reflect and analyze what I could have done, what you could have done better in that situation. Because at the end of the day, it comes down to the parents, right? It comes down to how you guys respond, how you guys react. And as I told you guys through multiple videos before, your consequence affects future behavior. So if I'm yelling and screaming and that behavior hasn't decreased, then my yelling and screaming is not effective. So let me try something else. Maybe let me talk in a more calm voice, or let me write it down on a piece of paper, right? Let me take my pride out of it. And even though my mom or dad were yellers or screamed at me, let me not do that, because that's not working for my child right now. So let me maybe have a whiteboard. Let me do it on a piece of paper or a Post-it. Let's troubleshoot and figure out how my child receives feedback best, right? Because at the end of the day, we want to figure out how our child works better, how we can put our child in different situations to increase their overall goals, social significance, whatever we want to put there. How can I, as a parent, put them in situations to succeed? And if it's by yelling and screaming, which I deem was not effective, then okay, look, cool. Let's go back to the drawing board and figure something else out. So by reflecting and thinking, okay, how can I be better as a parent, or how can I implement this in a different way as a parent, that'll lead to success here in the future. So by stopping, thinking, and reflecting, you guys are going to avoid those power struggles. You guys are going to avoid that back and forth. You guys are going to see a decrease in those behaviors if you kind of use that model. And then the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is delivery, right? And I kind of mentioned it with the reflection, is delivery, right? Yelling and screaming. In a Block household, that's all you hear, right? You're going to hear, I'll give you something to cry about. You're like, I'm already crying like that. Why are we going to threaten our children with, something to cry about when they're already crying in an emotional state, right? And so that's something in African-American or Black household that was trickled down, right? My mom didn't use that. I definitely don't plan on using that. And so it's things that we've carried from our past, right? That delivery is not going to instill fear, right? It's not going to instill, like I said, that militant, kind of command, right? We want to meet the child where they're at. So if I'm telling, I'm going to give you something to cry about, that's not, what does that accomplish, right? That's just going to instill fear within your child to not show his emotion, to not show that, okay, I don't want to cry because then my mom is going to, or dad is going to give me something more to, like, it doesn't work like that. So delivery, make sure your delivery is what your child needs. If it's like I said, if it's a soothing voice, if it's, a piece of paper, if it's, bringing in the other parent to talk to them in a manner that's more appropriate, do whatever you have to do for the point to get across. And so do all those kind of stop, think, reflect, and work on that delivery as parents, and you guys will succeed in picking your battles with your children. Quick banger for you guys, episode 12. I'll see you guys next week.